Right. Good evening, everyone. I know it's evening time in the UK and in Nigeria as well. But if you are joining us from the US, I don't know what your time zone is. Maybe I can say it's afternoon right now, or if you're still in the morning. So we are all welcome to this, as usual, of talking about experience of a cybersecurity professional in the line of working within this field. So I am today grateful. I have the pleasure of bringing Kamal Lawal to you to talk about his own experience within cybersecurity space. He's an experienced person. He's been conquering all problems that has come his way. He's a conqueror when it comes to cybersecurity. So today, without any further ado, I want to give the floor to Kamal Lawal. Go on and tell us what you do in your role as a cybersecurity professional. And people have been waiting for this.
All right.
On you go, sir.
Thank you very much, the boss. Yeah, I think, the way you've actually introduced me, I need to come for another classes anyway to learn that as well. All right. Quickly, I would just want to start. I know we don't have much time. I'm actually expected to share my experience, but I know I cannot share that in 1 hour, really. Definitely. So I'm just going to use like a use case just to say one aspect of what I do, definitely. And let me share my screen, and I've got a slide. Apologies ahead, I'm not good with putting slides together anyway. This took me some few hours, and not the best of slide. Let me share that, then we can crack on. Share the screen. Right. Oh, sorry. Boss, am I able to share? Do I have the right to share? You want part two?
Certainly you do.
Okay.
You're a co-host, so you should be able to share.
Okay. Which of the screen am I sharing? Do I see this? Interview? No. Screen 2. So let me know if you can see my screen, right? And which of the screen are you seeing? Can you see my screen?
Who am I?
Probably.
Who am I?
Yeah. So for the audience, if you can see my screen, maybe a kind of top up, just reaction in the chat will be fine. Then we can crack on, definitely. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and depends on where you have actually joined from today. As my boss has said, I'm just going to jump at it. Who am I? Why do you need to actually listen to my rounds today? So I'm Kamal Lawal, simple as that. I'm an IT security analyst. That's my job title. But with that, I think I wear many hats or many caps. Yeah, the rule, as my boss said, roles varies from different organizations, different title and different. But for me, I'm a security analyst, and based on what I do, one of the things I do is monitoring and threat detection. You can see towards the left, I've had some role title: incident response and management, vulnerability management, policies and compliance, risk assessment, project initiatives and involvement, cyber surgery, mentorship and collaboration, continuous improvement, reporting and communication. These are part of what I do on a day-to-day basis. But for this section, I'm just going to share more light on incident response and management, and I'm going to pick a use case and walk through and I'll walk you through what I do, my experience in that. In terms of certification, I'm heavily on Microsoft, as you can see. I am MCT, which is a Microsoft certified trainer. And I think I have one of the highest certification with Microsoft, which is the Architect Expert, the SC100. Yeah. I've also got Azure Security Engineer Associate, what is it, AZ500, Security Operation Analyst Associate, which is the, I'm not sure, I think that's the SC200. Yeah, and the fundamentals. I'm Cyber Essential Assessor by ISME, And the base is Computer Security Plus. That's just a brief about me. But in time of outside work, what do? I enjoy playing football. Yeah. And watching football, and my spare time, I also coach because my son also play football. So that's what I do about me. And recently, I think it's been pushing me through how to learn to start playing some game now on the screen anyway. So new hobby. So I'm going to move. Sorry, I'm going to move. If there's any question, you can just stop me. Or if there's anything you want to chip in, just chip in. That is fine. I want to make this as interactive as possible as well. Right. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Yeah. So agenda for today, I'm going to talk about threats. Threat overview, share use case, pick one use case, do some threat overview, then I'll discuss the incident timeline, how I managed to walk through the incident, and there's some kind of approximate timeline. If you see below the slide, you see some timeline. And if you have some time too as well, I'm also conscious of time. We'll discuss some key takeaways from the incident. And then from the incident timeline, I've got PICERL. Yeah, I think that is just the outline, or I'll say the framework. This one I'm going to use SANS framework here. I talk about the incident lifecycle: preparation, identification, containment, and eradication, recovery, and lessons learned, as outlined by SANS. That's what the PICERL means, right? So moving on, next slide. Incident, threat overview. Yeah, the incident I'm going to talk about actually happened September 23rd. I presume that to be Monday. That was when the first information came in, and the public disclosure was on the 27th, which is Thursday, right? And most of the time, we know when it comes to incidents, it's mostly Thursday, Friday, really. Yeah. So before I go into that, I'm going to talk about the preparation stage of incident life cycle. Preparation phase, incident, right? So the P, which is the preparation stage, when you talk about before incident happens, you need to know the people, you need to have policies, procedures, to train people if an incident, how they react. Then you take notes, relationship. I think for me, this matters a lot. Yeah, I've been within the system for the business for some time, and I've built some kind of relationship with people, maybe IT, just to understand that if there's any issues, I can call them really and see, and they will pick up, or I can just message them and they will respond to my chat. This is very critical as far as the InfoSec world is concerned. Yeah, you need to build the kind of relationships and across business functions. And when there are incidents, when there are issues, even out of the blue, when they put the call across or send a message or message, they prioritize what you have to do, really. So these are all part of preparation phase, really. Look at the policies, the procedures. Do you have a standard operating procedure? How does it align to any of the framework you're working with, or you're working to sanctify against? If you're looking at ISO 27001. So all these things in place, do some kind of training so that people are aware of what they need to do when issues. So this is the preparation phase. Yeah, I'm also going to share some pro tips here. I think I learned that from Josh of SANS, and he believes whenever you're working on incident, you need to have like a note and a pen or a pencil aside. And the rationale behind that is potentially that might lead to ransomware, but you might not have anything to access online. So you just to get like a notebook or something by the side, and be cautious of the kind of information you need to pen down, but mostly some important event and timeline. So in case that leads to ransomware and you're not able to access anything online. So that's the pro tip. So I'm going to move next, right? Yeah. So like I was saying, September 23rd, after my work, I was just trying to play game with the family. Yes, and I've got some one of ANS thread feed. I call it an ANS. It's a WhatsApp group, definitely. I think it's dominated by Nigerians, dedicated cybersecurity Teams, WhatsApp, and they share information. And it's one of my intelligence, threat intels I use really, because people from all over the world are in the groups, and then when something's happen, quickly they get those informations. Does anyone want to say something? Hello?
Just go on. Go on, don't worry.
Just go. Okay. So, yep, we went to the flight. Yeah, so threats in the brief, identification phase. So, well, I said, from the WhatsApp group, I got notification alerts from the WhatsApp group, and one of the guys had the caption ready for impact. That was the caption. It was on 23rd, and he was talking about a researcher who has actually identified some vulnerabilities. And the vulnerabilities is actually within the Unix distro. I mean, Linux, when I talk about distribution, we know Linux is widely used in most of our servers and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but that's at that 23rd, there's not been much information because it's still something that's declared to, and there's not been a way forward, there's no assigned CV to it, and there's not much information, but it's just letting the people aware. And I got that intel from the WhatsApp group. So from the WhatsApp group, they also mentioned the researcher name and his Twitter handle, and that also took me to the Twitter handle just to see. And there's been a lot of discussion saying how this could be big, really, with the industry, right? So on the 26th, there was a full disclosure. That was on Thursday, and that was around 8 p.m. Because immediately I went to the Twitter feed. I need to add him and put him on my threat intel feed. So it's also part of my enhanced threat intel feed. So when it was disclosed on 26, 8 p.m., then you can see from my timeline below, I see between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So just trying to understand that. So the researcher name is Simon Margaritelli. Yeah? So I was just going through that. This is part of an identification phase. And the vulnerability is common Unix printing system vulnerability disclosed by this researcher. So one thing that came to mind is now, is this actually applied to us? Are we exposed to this threat? Yes or no? That's the big one. That's the big thing you need to ask, right? So the Twitter, just to mention, the Twitter feed for this guy is called Evil Socket. So in case anyone wants to just be here, I think it's a good researcher that you might want to follow. So the question that came to mind is this applied to all, this vulnerability? Do we actually run it? Are we affected? So that was came to mind. Then I begin to play back my intelligence, my relationship. I'm trying to build my relationship with what the things I've been going through, all the weekly meetings, all the one-to-one peers interactions. And then I'm just beginning to play that just to understand if we have understanding of our environment without using the technical tool. I know there are tools that can also identify that. I know there are technical tools that has agents that do scanning. But at this point, it's just trying to understand what is the business itself. And this is where knowledge of business comes in now. So what do you have in your environment? Identification. Someone is in here. Let me admit this. Okay.
Just go
okay.
on. I'll be doing the admittance. Just
All right.
go on. Yeah.
Okay. So are we exposed to this threat? So now, based on the business knowledge, the one-to-one meetings, the stand-up and all that, relationship, peer-to-peer relationships I've had, and I begin to put some things together and say, okay, I think this is going to be a yes for us, right? Right? So, and these timelines between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., that is on the 26th, which is Thursday. I know someone would just be like, so is he still working at this time? No, if you want to ask me that question, I think we can take up that one anyway. So between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So I'm going to move to the next slide. Yeah, so this is the identification phase. Now I need to understand why this matters. Do we need to react? Is this something we need to react? And these are the things I look at and I say, The vulnerability is widely used on Unix-like systems, apart from Windows, which most people use for the normal users and device. Majority of organizations actually have their servers in Unix. So if this is actually affecting all the Unix distro, Linux, Debian, then you know it's something that's worth really looking at. Then another thing I looked at is the exploit. Remote code execution. These are the things you look when you're looking at if there's any vulnerability out there. This actually will allow remote takeover of any system that's affected without any interaction. The other thing I looked at was the rating. As at that 26, the rating was actually between critical and high, and there are 4 CVEs that was assigned to that. I think I can share a link for you to have a look at the write-up on that. So then another thing I look at, what is the impact if this has really affected, or what could be potential impact of this, and this based on this. The bad guy, the actors can do system takeover. They can take over your system. Service disruption, which we know that nobody wants to have the service disruption. They could also use this to carry out lateral movement, network compromise, and information disclosure. So this, for me, based on this, I say this is actually critical, is high for us to react as a business. Right? So, yeah, because there will be a lot of vulnerability, a lot of disclosures. You need to understand, why does it matter? Do we need to do anything? So with this, for me, I think there's a need for us to react to this. So I'm moving to the next slide, and I'm still on the identification phase of incident lifecycle here. Yeah. So this is the vulnerability overview. I think I just put something together here just for you to have understanding of what this vulnerability is, how is this exploited. I think the whole summary is there is something that's allowed within the Linux that allow a lot of IPP, internet printer protocols, and people can use that from the side. And just to put there, so that this is just give overflow of how this works. All still is identification phase. So I can share a link where you can read about this flow, attacker sending UDP to this and stuff like that. This is how it's being exploited. I'm just conscious of time. We don't want to spend more time in this workflow. Scope and impact, still under identification phase. Yeah, so with this one, after looking at this, I think what came to mind is that now I think there needs to be a kind of discussion around this. I went on the call, duty manager. I know you'll be wondering, what time is this? This is between 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., right? So we've got a team of people that are always on the call out of hour. So I got the people, the duty manager on the call, the cloud guys on the call, also the managers on the cloud. And yes, I've also notified how the details from the write-ups, what we need to run to see if we're actually exposed to that vulnerability. As at this time, even when you have technical tools, there has not been any detection for you to scope within environment, because you might have a vulnerability scanner that will help you and stuff. But at this time, that detection rule is not there for you to be able to. So, but from the write-up, there are hints on how you can go into your systems, check if you are exposed to this vulnerability. Yes, but so at this point, we're discussing that. So when I went to the call, we needed someone that will be able to, a Unix expert, which is on the call. So I got the other guys on the call about the Unix experts. We couldn't reach him because he's not on the call. And as at this time, I still feel the risk here is high, because it's based on the Unix. I've got a lot of systems that are actually on Unix, but we couldn't get this guy. And this is around between 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning. We're still trying to see how we can see if there's any way we can do, right? But as at that time, as at this 1 a.m., I couldn't reach out to the Unix guy. But I put down my notes timeline, and with this, I think I feel I'm able to defend. If anything happened in the morning, if you come up in the morning, we're able to defend and say, okay, we've tried all what we can, but we need to probably delay this when we get someone that could be able to look into the Unix environment. Yep. So the scope and impact still under identification phase, right? We have the query that can run, but we need an expert who can do that on Unix. And that's actually detailed in the write-up from the vulnerability. Yes, I'm moving to the stage of containment and education. So in the morning, around 7:30 in the morning, quickly I scheduled a meeting. And I got the cloud team. Now I've got the Unix experts. My team is also back there, the service teams all on the call. And now, yes, I was able to identify the queries that need to be run. And since we have the expert now, I think was able to run this query based on how we have our setup. So we've got the prod environment, we've got the UAT and all those environments. So I was able to run that. And then one of the findings we had are most of our devices that are external facing are actually not running that. And all our servers in the production is actually not exposed to that vulnerability, just few, which is in the UAT that's actually running that. So based on that, I feel since we've been able to run the queries and able to establish which assets have this vulnerability, then this risk, is it really high for us? No, at this point I say no, because one, external facing assets not running that, assets in the productions are not running that. Just a couple of assets in pre-prod actually running that vulnerability. Then at this point, I was able to say, okay, I think to me, this incident, I can downgrade this to an event. Looking at, we are not running that. We are not exposed to that. All the assets that are external facing productions are not running that. Then I downgraded that incident to an event. I see we are not in. So that was between 7:30 to p.m. in the morning. And after that, that was on Friday. And then the following day on Monday, I scheduled post incidents and document lessons learned just to discuss what has gone well, what hasn't gone well with us, and that was it for eradication and containment and eradication. Yes, and the lessons learned on Monday, convey the teams and we talk about what went well, document some of those findings, and yes, threat intel mechanism was good. WhatsApp, Twitter from the evil sockets was informational, prompt. Yes, I see what 112 was relation building because when I called the guys on the call, nobody was telling me, oh, this is not our job. This is not what they were very, very helpful. Yes, so we were able to do one or few checks for ourselves in the morning. The Unix expert quickly joined the team, ran the query, identified the assets that are having that vulnerability, and we're able to isolate those ones without have that. Those in the pre-prod, you raise the change request because that also need to be discussed. What that team change the cost to see if they can disable those few assets in the UAT environment. Yeah, one thing to also discuss, I think there should be kind of knowledge between cross-interdepartmental knowledge where if someone's person is not on duty, the other person should be able to run like a query quickly, should in case it's something we need to react quickly with. And yes, then using the understanding and knowing, yes, the knowledge of threat detection. If you have someone in the team that are able to build maybe a threat detection rule before the vendors who actually use this tool. Yeah, I think if you know how to use the YAML rule, you can quickly build that threat detection to automatically look for within your environment and see what devices are exposed to this vulnerability. So the main takeaway too from there is, yeah, the improve escalation. Yeah, the escalation process can be improved upon. Every time you do something, you identify where the gaps are. Yeah, I think it's something we can look at. Then have the use of AI copilot. If you have it incorporated, that can build you a kind of regex to do your query. And if you have it automated, it can actually point it to the environment and run some query. Yes, and the see collaborative efforts that went well. And the team skill, as I said, maybe detection knowledge, or get someone within the team that was able to build that detection, and we can roll from there, really. So that is actually the life cycle of incidents based on this COP vulnerability. And I'm going to show this. I'm just conscious of time. Yes, and I look at this graph. One of the write-ups have this image. It's fine, and that symbols for Linus, and there's a printer, and that actually details the vulnerability of the corpse. So at this point, I think I'm just being brief. Then we can have more time for question and answer. Right, and that's me for sharing incident lifecycle using the CUPS vulnerability. If there are questions, we can crack on from there, right?
Wow, thank you very much, Kamal, for that example that you've given. I think I like the fact that you brought life experience to it. It's not just a made-believe scenario. If some of us looked at the CV Kamal shared on the slides, and if you go to NIST website, particularly what we call NVD, National Vulnerability Database, I'll share my screen for people to see. I think Kamal is still sharing, sorry. Let me quickly share. Replace current one. So I'll show you what I meant. So that's the website which I'm referring to. And you can see he showed us this on a slide. And that represents a virus or a bug, if you like. So the question I have is, they said awaiting analysis on this website. So let's say, for instance, you found it in your front-end facing assets. I believe there will be some set process that you would have followed, which you talked about, containment, which we talk about the PICRL, that is PICRL, which you have taken us through. Because I just want people to understand the scenario, how this works from the beginning till the end. In your own case, you found them in pre-prod. And the pre-prod is just the stage where you want to move to the production environment. For those that are not familiar with this, production means you have something facing the public that customers can use and interact with. So this is a place whereby you could have gotten information advising you on what you need to do. And I think my own question is just that they have not shared analysis here, even on MVD. So have you come across, I know for some handles, some threat feeds, they have this information. Is there anything you can share for those of us that are interested in how this ought to have been dealt with? That's my question.
Yes, there are a couple of the vendors that have actually analyzed this. I know of Sync, and I think the Evil Socket also got a link. Let me see if I can copy that, and that gives more information. Yeah, and this is for the part one. I can share that as well. And yes, I think one of the good way I also get more information to get more information is there's some also researchers that discussed about this. There's John Hammond. It's a very good. It's going to. It does something like more of YouTube videos, and that will give you details about this. I can share that link, and I know. I think Sync, because they are vendors for yes, vulnerability management vendors. So most of them are interested in this because they normally use this to sell their product as well, to tell you when we pick up feed, we notify you within how many hours, and they will build up detection rules for you to be able to identify that. But there's always time lag between when it's being disclosed and when they build that. And that was the time lag actually I'm covering over that time. I say before they start building detection rules, you need to look at your environment. You need to know your environment. And if there's anything you need to do and to probably mitigate that, you quickly have to jump at it. Yeah. So I'm going to share, I think I've shared one link. Yes, and to also talk about there are mitigations in case if you are having this exposed externally. Because when it's externally, you know that's a critical incident you need to walk through. Yes, so you need to know what kind of control these guys have. If you look at the analysis, there's a port, UDP port that was actually open. That port was not open by default, but it's in the process of doing configuration, maybe misconfiguration. Yeah. So if quickly you identify that you don't need that port for you to run your service, which is going to be something you have to liaise with the infra team and the asset owner. Quickly, you can disable that, and that solves your issue. Yeah, but I think at later stage, there was also a patch. But if you don't want to apply patch, if that can be disabled, then you also mitigate that issue, yeah. So I have that clarified. That's I'm seeing I think sync vulnerability.
I think Mutolib sent one too already in the
Yeah,
chat box.
Qualys. I know most of the vulnerability management vendor because that is the selling point for them. They want to, yeah, I think there's Qualys. There is yeah, I think yes, 0 day. I used to I think I picked the image from Sync because yeah, when it comes to scanning as well. Well, I'm not marketing for them, I'm not on commission anyway. But yeah, I think I can also share this, and this gives you more details of the jargons you can read about them, really. Yeah, I can share this.
Whilst you're sharing that, Kamal, I know when you're talking about the PICERL, you didn't talk about the report. How do you do the reporting? Do you just go to your tool, your SIM tool, maybe Splunk, Sentinel perhaps? You just get the reports there and share with your team. How do you go about that? For those that are interested in moving from one area in cybersecurity to where you are now, that's why I'm asking that question. How do you generate your reports?
It comes in different form. Like with this particular use case, because this is actually was dealt with as fresh as it is. And I mentioned from beginning of my call, one of the pro tips from that I picked up was to have a notebook by your side and a pen and pencil. And that's actually allowed me to take important event and timelines. I've got a template. I'm going to transfer all those things into a template, put them in PDF, discuss that, then circulate that. Because those reports, there are also other teams that are going to consume those reports. Because you're also mandated based on the environment. It depends on the regulator you're complying with. The data protection teams, they want to document those reports. Because if you're also going to maintain some of the certification, these are the proofs you need to present and say, okay, we picked up this. To also say, we've also got a kind of a government monitoring body on you, and to say after some time, they will just tell you, oh, we've seen this is 0 day, it's heavy. So tell us what they've done with this. So you need to be able to share that. And these are the things that also form part of your maintenance or certifications or how they're going to be audited, kind of. So there's a template we have. I documented that using my notebook. And I say, why do I use notebook? Pro tips. I said, ransomware. If this case leads to something that denial of services, I know I have something to document. So transfer that to the template and circulate that within the team. Yeah, but then if you're going to use tools, I know after some couple of days, some of the tools we use for vulnerabilities management scanning, they come up with their detections and send us the notifications, but we're way ahead. So from that tool, you can generate all the assets that if you scan using an agent, you see the same query that I was waiting for my Unix experts to run, but the same query I'm going to automate using the tool, and that can populate all the devices, and from there you can also generate a report. But I've done this way before they start popping on that, really. So how do I explain the really?
No, it really does. Very good. The way you have taken us through the process of a vulnerability scenario that you just made. It's good just for people to understand what you've stated. Again, it's not that we are deliberately repeating it. There is a method to it, which you said at the beginning that it was SANS method, which is very popular, PICERL, which you can follow and then see how you can treat any threat or vulnerabilities that you found within your organization. And one point I just want to mention there is you did something maybe perhaps people didn't notice. Initially, when you found the CVE, you use the CVSS score, which was high, right? Then on your slide, you crossed it and you now said low. Why low? Why not medium?
Okay. Yes, I think From the disclosure, they're going to assign some kind of level of severity to it, and which is what everybody's going to take. Really, it's actually used good to build your use cases. Why the teams you need to react to that, but you need to add the business context within your environment to it. For example, I say when we looked at it, this is not affecting our critical asset. Now I'm bringing the business knowledge and context into the severity, even they say it's critical. But what is affecting within my environment is not in production, it's not in external exposed. So this now, with this business context, I can downgrade this and say, okay, this is not something to really worry about, right? And you said, based on these scores, really, there are also the metrics thing you can use to also say, okay, based on the impact it's going to have in our environment, this impact is going to be either quite high, medium, or low. But this, as looked at it within my environment, using the metrics, it's not going to have an impact, and this is actually low for us.
Okay, that's fantastic. Another question. Because you feel is high, but at the moment, because it's in pre-prod, is low, and again for everybody is because it's not facing the customers where the threat actors will be able to take an advantage of that. I want to believe in your organization, you put this as part of your high alert list. Is that the case?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yes.
Good. Yeah. So, you've been talking about weekend, and you said you want to tell them on Monday. Were you on duty? Because nobody asked you about that.
I was actually expecting someone to ask, really. Yeah. But I think one of the main drive for me to pick this was actually to point out what is actually expected of you as an analyst, right? Yes, I know people say the job is I say cyber is a way of life, really, not like just 9 to 5 I've closed. But I know most people don't say things. Yes, we've got out of hours arrangement as well to ensure that even when you close, some people are actually on the list to watch out for stuff like that, right? So I will rotate that within the team. But outside that as well, I also check. I know every of us check our WhatsApp, even when you're out of office, yeah. So I also do that. And when I pick something interesting, I'm interested, right? So, and just to say, the passion will keep you driving, right? And even when you are not on duty and you feel something could go south, you want to quickly come up and say, no, we need to see how we can react to this. And this is where the passion will keep moving you from one stage to another, because in every stage, you're going to learn. You're going to pick new things, right? This is 0 day. I want to say 0 day. You know what that means? So quickly, for me to update my knowledge, to be able to understand, I also share one thing I also do in this same process. When I look at the identification stage and I saw how you can run the query to be able to see what port was actually open. If that port was open, you are vulnerable. I've got my small lab where I've got my Unix, your Linux system. I run it, I spin it up, I SSH into that, and I run the query. And I say, oh, this looks simple, right? I'm not a techie guy in terms of hands-on, but that has given me a clue of how to actually SSH into Linux, run those commands, and I can actually discuss with even the IT guys. So, because this is a continuous learning for everyone, yeah. So at that point, we've got an arrangement for out of hours, and there's also a passion because my threatening feed, my WhatsApp, maybe give a shout out to the WhatsApp group, really. And that's why I say the group you are in is also as valuable as kind of, in case even in interview, they talk about, mention kind of your enhanced threats feed. WhatsApp is something you can mention, really. Definitely. So that's it for me, right?
Thank you very much. I ask because of people that are not aware, because you mentioned passion as one of the characteristics that gets you going in this field, in this particular role that you are. What other characteristics can you talk about apart from being passionate?
Yes, I think for me, other things, there are a lot of things to talk about. First, I someone asked me one time, I said, okay, if you want to be in this field, what kind of things that will make you grow? I first mentioned something, you have to be nosy, like nosy. You want to just to know, inquisitive, to know everything, right? Then secondly, you need to be in the right space with the right people. And I believe when you are here, Pivot is one place that I would say maybe if am I on camera? Is it recorded? Okay.
You are being
Yeah.
recorded. Please be careful.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to say, don't mind me if I'm going to say the whether I recorded or no. By all standard, if you look at it, I'm one of the products Pivot Consult, and if by standard they want to talk about in terms of ranking, maybe I should be deputy head boy for in this. Yeah, yeah. So you need to your network, your group of the people you react with within the industry is matters a lot. I mentioned WhatsApp. Yeah, so that is networking is very key. You need to get like a mentorship, come to places where informations like this are shared. Pivot. If you're here, you're actually there, and openness to learn new things. Go on the, I used to tell people your threat intel is as good as your cybersecurity knowledge. And just like what I've discussed about threat intel, getting information ahead of order and quickly reacting to that. So those are the things that keep you. So
Gotcha.
ability to, and then one important thing too is your ability to Google things faster because we all do Googling. And with the help of the AI now, I think it's making things easier, really. Yeah. So that's what I can share from my own perspective.
You know, one thing I like about what you said today when I was looking at your slides, when I saw AI and you said co-pilots, and that's what I've been saying to people, even outside cybersecurity. AI, if you use it the right way, is an enabler because it brings speed into everything that we're doing. You imagine you went there to search for query that you want to use to search your record for the type of asset that you have. So these are the things in the past. You have to go to sit on Google and try to tie different query together before you get the one you want. But now you can tell AI, this is what you are looking for. It will do that searching, bring them together, and you even tell it, I think I meant this, make it better. Yeah. So those are the skills that we're talking about. And it's because you're passionate and you are curious, because you said nosy. It's being curious. Curiosity is the thing that we're looking for. You're technically curious, you want to know. And these days, you don't have to be super technical before you can do all these things, because what you're looking for is your analytical skills. You can smell, you can suspect things that doesn't look right, and I need to do something about it.
Yeah, so I think for me, why I also chose this was to also reiterate that you don't need the technical ability, because we look at the incident response that I've talked about. I can pick one or two places where something technical. It's just more about following the process, human-to-human relationship, and knowing, having this information ahead. And that's what closed this. And if you look at this, if you want to quantify what you've done in terms of values, should in case if you have your external face and this your office is your engine is being hit, do you know how much you're going to save them with this? So if you're able to pick this, put it in context of how much you're going to cost this. One system that's going to be critical system that's going to be down for 1 hour, you know how much it's going to cost the organization. Right? Yes. So those are the things. And with the AI, I think I was in a seminar recently, and someone asked the questions with AI, will AI take our job? I know people are worried. But I can hit my chest and tell you, AI will not take your job. But the only person that will take your job is someone that knows how to use AI. So it is key. Now it's part of our life. So we need to just to admit that. And yes, it makes life easy really now. Right? So that's what I can also say regarding to that. But just to say, you don't, what I've talked about this, most of the things we do when incident happens, incident life cycle, and I've just talked about that without going technical, really. But the one key thing I talk about, human relationship, which is what AI will not take away from another person. Yes, yes.
Exactly.
Visibility at an SME, InfoSec SME, you need to be visible. I talk about business knowledge, which is very key as well. And this is actually being picked from one-to-one interaction with people and know what our servers is, what kind of operating system they are running. You have technical tools that can give you that. But once something comes in first, is that your like, are we actually using this device? Asset identification, which is key in all the framework as well.
No, thank you very much for doing justice to the topic. I don't know if there's any question from anyone. Please ask away. We have about 15 minutes more to round up. Any question from anyone that you want to ask from Kamal? Some
Hello.
people are feeling shy.
So no, I actually have a question.
Come on, Kasim. Go on. Ask.
Okay, so I didn't start the session. I joined at the, I don't know, maybe it's the tail end, maybe it's third end, I don't know. But I know it wasn't at the start. But I've always wondered, because I see that you display some things. Because where I work, whenever you want to deploy, I work in products. Whenever I want to push a new product to production, they will say, oh, they want to conduct a security test on it, and they will say, oh, they've noticed one or two vulnerabilities. Yeah, I've listened to some podcasts, and I understand better what vulnerabilities now mean. However, I always wondered, because you see some news article that will say an app, when it was being deployed to Google Play Store or iOS, it passed all security checks, but it went rogue. And then it's now exposed users, it was getting sort of information, they had to remove it. So how do organizations, maybe I should be asking my own security analyst, but now we are here, let me ask you, how do organizations, do they run those, but I want to presume that's what you spoke about, do they run daily checks on the whole infrastructure that, okay, hope nothing is exposed there, because I listen to, like I said, I listen to a podcast, but I just want to, maybe from the Nigerian context, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, a good one, a good intelligent one, really. Yeah, good to know you are actually working in the product section, really. Yeah. I think the few people we normally interact with are the developers, right? Yes, I think you mentioned there's what calls SDLS, Software Development Lifecycle, which is more on the developmental side. In the past, they've actually been, how do I even say, they don't bake in security, they just apply maybe icing, security as an icing after the baking, right? But now everything is shifting left, and that's what we just discussed. So from the beginning, from where you're downloading maybe your libraries or your code, from the GitHub, we start scanning vulnerability on those ones. And if you have a good workflow, the IT team, the information security team has been notified to say, okay, one of this library is outdated. Could you please update that before you start moving into the next stage? But I know the guys, they just want to get their job done and see the website running. Yes, that's one too. Then secondly, you asked something regarding how often do they carry out scanning. Yeah, if you have a robust, matured cybersecurity program in place, for every asset you deploy, external facing or internal facing, there should be a tools that maybe probably run an agent at the end on the device, or you're using IP base to scan within the environment. And this actually varies. I've got most of the asset agents, they run every 6 hours to go through all the system and see if there's any misalignment, vulnerabilities, updated, or any kind of misconfigurations. And that's actually reported back to the board, the cybersecurity board. And is that led for the proactiveness of your cyber team to say, okay, we've scanned 6 hours, we've seen this device, they are running maybe this component of vulnerabilities. How can we fix it? Even though there's going to be a lot of them, then how to prioritize what we need to fix also comes in, right? And also, there are also external facing. You've also got some vulnerability scanner that point out to external facing like website. There are tools like besides SSL that are freemium. You can just get a website, put them in, scan it, and that's what even the bad guys will do. Take those in scan and see if you are running outdated libraries. They are going to those libraries. What CVE is associated to that libraries? How do they exploit that? And that's what they're coming to weaponize and attack the organization. So proactiveness, you need to scan this ahead. I've got a project every 4 months, quarterly, apart from the daily one, to check and rank what we need to attend to quickly. And I reach out to all developers and say, this is running this vulnerability. We need to fix it. I know it takes some time because there are process change. It will go through change process, but they are going to impact. They are going to do some scoping impact analysis to see if they apply this, will it affect any dependency and stuff like that. So, but if you have a program, they should have a project. If you see my initial, I talk about project initiatives. That could also be a project that I say every 4 months. We need to run all, apart from the daily one we'll see, they will follow through and we'll see that we'll bring them to closure. I hope that explains what you're talking about. And boss, if you have something to share to add to this as well.
Yeah, just to add to what you've said, I mean, you've dealt with majority of the thing. Only few things I want to mention. Kosim is a product owner. Sometimes it may come to you that you're expecting the product to come to the market at a particular time, and it's getting delayed because of one reason or the other. Example that Kamal gave today, it was a 0 day. So it's not something that the security guys would have known about. So sometimes they may come to you and they say they have a critical vulnerability on your product that is facing the public, and then you need to take it down for so reasons. That's the reason why. Because the way it works, it's funny in cybersecurity. We choose medical terms. We talk about bugs, we talk about virus. Indeed, they are. Because sometimes you may have 1, 2, or 3 weaknesses being combined together. That's what these guys do. Hence why we talk about 0 day. And if you look at that, it's printing related. Because sometimes your product maybe want to print something and it's sending something to the printer. And you can see it's an RCE, remote code execution. So they will get into the environment and then escalate their privilege. So that is why when they say 0 day, when you hear that, please just pause for a while before you say anything, because you want to know how high it is. Because some of these things, when these guys mix them together, it leads into many things. And if you're doubting what we are saying, go and check Eternal Blue on the internet. How bad that was. It got into wrong hands and they used it for many nefarious things. So that is why when you hear 0 day, you need to jump out of your seat and say, okay, let's go into the meeting room. Let's talk about this. What have you found? How bad is it? What can we do? Because some of the times it might be your public facing asset. And these guys, they have many tools. Showdown is there. They can check how many tools are facing the public running this particular weakness that they found. So that's why it is important to always let them do their things. It may look like they are delaying your activities. I mean, this is for the good of the whole thing, so that you can run your business. I hope that helped, Kosim.
Yes, it surely did help. Can I still ask one more question?
Please do. Go ahead.
Okay, so another aspect, like I said, I work in products. Another aspect that I usually focus on has to do with governance, and I know governance is tied to risk and compliance heavily. So how do IT security? What's the relationship between IT security and IT governance? Can you briefly just give an overview of the relationship and correlation between IT security and IT governance? But whatever you can say about it. Or is the question of the way you are staring at it?
It is clear. Come on, go on.
Yeah. It is clear. Okay. I'm just trying to see the best scenario I can use for you, right? Okay. So, in terms of governance, I'm looking at if there is a kind of a clear business objectives, and you are looking to see that we need to comply with some of these top notch. Maybe let me say ISO 27001, right? And there are a lot of values when you have that. And when an organization is compliant, has certified against that, that shows you have the baseline of cybersecurity, not the top notch really, but that is minimum what's expected of you. So out of those baseline, it's feel like, oh, you have identified vulnerability, you are actually remediating vulnerability within something like that. So that is the governance, and you need to keep those your operational process to maintain that certification. And now in terms of IT security, so how did this build in? You have a certification that say you are patching your systems once the vulnerability within so number of days. You need to how do you show that IT security will come in? Okay, I've seen vulnerability, we're secured, and this is aligned. This is a certificate that shows we're secured. And when you're dealing with third party, those are the things we check. I think one thing I did mention too in this man was talking about, we are talking about looking at our face, but the external suppliers you are working with. So how do you ensure that they are aligned with your security program? Is the governance, is the certifications they also have? I hope that explains that. And if there's anything boss want to add to that, please share more on that.
By all means, thank you very much, Kamal, for that initial start about the question. Thank you very much. It was really, really good. The only thing I want to add for Qasim to understand is when you talk about IT, we talk about information technology. And in cybersecurity, we talk about CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Availability is part of security. IT needs to be available for your products to be available to the public. So integrity, whatever they have said, they have kept with you, they are the way they are supposed to be. Whenever they come around, confidentiality, they are sure what they have kept with you is between you and them, right? So I think this breaks it down. But when you now say, what is the role of cybersecurity in it? Your IT governance is not complete without cybersecurity these days. So say, for instance, you are, because I know the sector in which you are working, let's say you want to be compliant to PCI DSS. That's an example, because that's card-based. And if you look at everything, there are 6 goals and 12 requirements. If you look at them, they are majorly talking about cybersecurity. They are saying your firewall, everything must not use default password, all this, You are making sure you have them in segregated environment. Who will do the segregation? IT will do that. Cybersecurity will confirm that, yes, they are segregated, and all the ports that are not allowed to communicate outside are blocked. Cybersecurity will do that confirmation. So that's PCI DSS. Kamal has mentioned ISO 27001. What does it mean? Is ISMS, Information Security Management Systems, which is our, like a badge of honor that shows that my organization is doing their best to protect customers' information. If you have that, it's top-notch for you. But like Kamal said, it's the basal foundation, because you have to talk about CIS benchmark, you have to talk about if it's PCI DSS, and all this will be on top of them. But not all organizations can pay for ISMS to be implemented, because you have to do that yourself, implement it, then you call an auditor to come and ascertain, and they give you certification to say that you have done it, just like you do for quality, you do for environmental and what have you. So that is the way. You cannot do IT compliance without having cybersecurity as part of it. I hope that it really helps.
Yeah, there's also questions in the chat, really.
Let me check. Can there be situations where cybersecurity may lose battle to attackers? Well, we are not immune to all attacks. We want you to be aware of that. No organization, even countries that they have money to pay, they are not immune to attacks. Even military websites or assets, they've been hacked before. But all you just need to do is to minimize them. And that's why in cybersecurity, we do what we call subnetting, segregating. You know, when your paint spills, it's just like you're having a barrier that this paint should not spill beyond this point. That's why we do segregation. So we are not immune to attacks, but we can always minimize it. It's just like you being exposed to virus, bacteria. You are not generally immune to all of them. You pick one. There's no how you do it. And that is why we always try to be ahead of the game, because they are using the same tool that we are using as well. I hope that helps.
Yeah, just to add that to that, I think most of all these programs we are running here, all we are doing is being proactive and reactive. It's just a way to discourage them and frustrate them, really. And once they are frustrated, everybody wants to go for the low-hanging fruit. You just don't want to be the low-hanging fruit organization. Yeah, so you discourage them, frustrate them, and they will just back up and say, okay, let's take it to somewhere else. And that's
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. You just have to put something, like we call zero trust. That's how we do zero trust now, that everybody must say who him or her is before you can log into your organization. So that's what we do now to minimize all those effects. But no company in this world can say is immune. There's no how. No matter how they brag, you just continue to watch and watch and watch and watch to make sure. Somebody is asking, what is the common security issues with cloud security? Remote login. Everybody can remote to log into cloud. That's the first thing you need to manage. And if you're able to manage that, you can minimize your exposure when it comes to cloud. It's just like when you have a door to your organization, you don't have security personnel looking after it. Free entry, free exit. So your cloud, your management plane, where you log in, and if somebody is having a root password, mark my word, that root access,
Yeah.
you have to be very careful.
Yeah. Someone was asking if attackers on one systems, can there be situation where there is another total different attacks still being carried on the system that one is working on? Yes. I think my presentation, I made mention of lateral movement. People can just attack one first and they act that one and do different things really. Just like with this vulnerability, just a door that is open. So if I have access to the door, some might just stop by the kitchen, pick one of the pots. Some might just go to the sitting room. Some will go to the lounge. So you can have multiple ways of doing things, right? With the printer,
Definitely.
yeah, you bridge the printer. You can have access to information disclosure. You can have access to information you're not supposed to share. You can even from there move to the database, encrypt
Thank
it.
you.
And so a lot of things you can do.
Thank you very
Definitely,
much, Kamal. Because of time, I just want us to quickly wrap up. But before we do so, for those that are interested in training, we have our training coming up January. That's on the left-hand side. If you're interested, the numbers, the number and the email, you can see them there. So get in touch. On the right-hand side, for Wednesday, we are doing free fraud awareness training. We target 50 plus for women, but everybody can join. People are joined too. They really benefited from this. And this was made possible by the mayor of Sodok, Councillor Naima Ali. So join us on Wednesday. You can take a picture of that and reach out. I'll send you how to join. And after that, I've mentioned it here before, for those that are looking for somebody to do their poster or manage their social media, you see Adex Tech there. You can take their number too as well. And then on the right-hand side, you see VeloRemit is one of us that is doing this business. Download the application, help us to, and then use the code. The referral code is there, Prefort. Use that referral code. Their rates, I use them, I can say, and it's better than Lemfi too, because it's higher than that, can tell you for sure. And it doesn't take time before it drops into your account. So those are the announcements that we have as usual. So thank you for joining as always. I hope you've enjoyed the session as usual, and then we'll let you know when we have the next person coming to showcase their experience with the role. Without any further ado, I thank you all for joining. We hope that you enjoyed it today as well as usual, and we promise to share details of the next session with you. Thank you very much for joining. We thank Kamal for taking it as an opportunity to share his knowledge with the community. That is very, very important. Thank you for being who you are. Keep being yourself, and then we'll hear from you. So thank you very much. And if you need any further question, you can get in touch with my number that you have, and then we can take it from there. And Francis Nwabudi also dropped a message there for people before I end the session. It is there for you to take a look at if you want. So thanks all for joining. As usual, we really appreciate you. Bye for now. See you next time.
Bye. Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.